Hello colleagues, welcome back to episode 7, which is likely to be the last episode for this session on the EDU 711. So in this episode, we will be looking at some few questions from the past questions, of course, so and see how we can go about that, especially the theoretical aspect of it. I mean, the research aspect of this course. We have been dealing with the calculation, the statistics aspect for a while now. So let's do some bit of the research aspects because we also we equally need that to excel in this course and even in research and statistics generally. So most of what we will be doing in this episode will be the research aspect, taking questions from the past questions. So with me is the past question for 2018, 2019, 2018-2019 session. So let's see how far we can go with this. So look at this question. I don't want to write it to save our time. So the question is, the Lagos State Governor is worried about woeful performance of senior secondary school students in Lagos public school. Stakeholders have identified school indiscipline and as likely cause of the prevalent situation. As a consultant, do the following: state appropriate topic for the study, briefly state the problem associated with the study, formulate at least 2 hypotheses to be tested in the study, what type of research design will you use in this study, what type of instruments will you use to collect data and why, and if you are to publish the study as a book, reference it appropriately using the APA format. Fortunately or unfortunately, this question is a compulsory question. As you see, answer question 1 and 2 plus. Answer question 1 and 2 and any other. So it means question 1 and 2 are compulsory. So and any other one. So at least we are going to treat the question 1 and 2 in this episode, at least. So to start with, look at the question and identify the important terms which we call variable in research. So the first variable here, we have performance, student performance. Student performance. And the second variable is school indiscipline. School indiscipline. Then we also have a very important term, and that is SSS. That is senior secondary school students in Lagos public schools. So these are important terms that we need to answer, we need to understand before we can answer those questions. So taking a look at this is a variable, this is another variable, and majorly we have 2 types of variable. Majorly, I say majorly, and that is the dependent and the independent variables. So aside those two, we also have the controlling variable, or what we call moderating variable, and we also have intervening variable. So but those are not our focus. That's not our focus today. So taking a look at considering independent and dependent variable, these two, you need to determine which one is dependent and which one is independent. And to determine that is very simple. So from the name, dependent and independent. So when you have two persons, for instance, and you say this person is independent and this person is dependent, so you know what that means. For example, during the colonial era, we say Nigeria was colonized by Britain. We are under British. We were under British colony. So we were colonized by Britain, and as a result, Nigeria was dependent on Britain. So as we speak, or by implication, it means Britain was independent of Nigeria. So when we say Nigeria was dependent on Britain, so it means whatever Britain at that moment could determine what happens in Nigeria, would determine who is the regional leader, would determine what we do with our resources, because they were in the hands of affairs. They would determine virtually, in fact, they would determine what kind of education we are going to be given as citizens of Nigeria. So they determine virtually all facets of our life because we were dependent on them. So that is how, I mean, what I think is a very simple similitude between dependent and independent variable. Now let's come down a bit to our family. When you have a father who is the breadwinner of the family, and you have the children who depend on their father for sustenance. So in this case, the father is independent variable and the children are dependent variable, because whatever the father does will affect the children. So the same way, look at these two variables. Which one do you think affects the other? So from the report given to us, the stakeholders have identified school indiscipline as the likely cause. So whatever is the cause is also the independent variable. So if this is the likely cause, so if this is the cause, then this is the independent variable. If this is what results of this cause, what the results gotten from this cause, then this is the dependent variable. So when you say cause and effect, the cause is the independent variable, where the effect is felt is the dependent variable. For example, if you take a look at this board and the table, the board is placed on this table and there was no issue. It has been there since we started, and it has not it didn't fall down because the table is strong enough to hold the board. Assuming the table is a fragile object and we place the board on it, definitely the board will not be able to stand. So in essence, this board, it depends on this table. So that means this table is the independent variable and this board is the dependent variable. If for instance the legs of this table collapse, then this table automatically will also fall on the ground. So that means whatever happens to this table at this moment affects this board. So that makes the board the dependent variable and the table the independent variable. So to cut the long story short, in this question, this is our dependent variable and this is our independent variable. So when you are looking at when you want to determine the two, just look at which one is affecting the other. So the one that is affecting the other is the independent variable, and the one that is being affected is the dependent variable. So when you do this, the next is to look at the first question: state appropriate topic for this study. So in stating appropriate topic, you combine these two and let it reflect these three, the third one, which is the sample. So this is the sample or the population of the study. So in that case, we can say that our first question stating the research topic. So, and since this is affecting this, we can state it in such a way that it will reflect effect or reflect relationship. For instance, we can say the effects of school in discipline on academic performance of senior secondary school students in Lagos public schools. That's enough as a topic. That's enough as a topic. So one thing is, always your topic must be straightforward, though at times it could be a complex composition. So but notwithstanding, it must be understandable, something that somebody can read and understand it at once. So there's no need for big grammars, that helps nobody. So there's no need for a lot of intricacies in structuring your topic. So just make it as simple as possible. Another topic we can also have is where we have effects. We can also say we can also say the relationship between school in discipline. I don't want to bother to write that. The relationship, instead of effect, just say relationship just say between. The relationship between school in discipline, instead of on, it should now be and academic performance of senior secondary school students in Lagos State. Then you can also be stylish about it. For example, you can say woeful. You can see that I did not bring in woeful here. So, but I can also say woeful performance of senior secondary school students in Lagos public schools. Then column, the role of school in discipline. You can see that this is also another style of generating the topic. Woeful performance of senior secondary school students in Lagos public schools. Column, the role of school in discipline. So, and please, when you are stating your topic, do not abbreviate like I'm doing. So I'm only doing this to save time. So that is, we have answered the first question. Then the second question is briefly state the problem associated with the study. That is statement of problem. Statement of the problem, or we say problem statement. I'm not going to write that, but I will explain. So under statement of the problem, what you need to do is this. Look at these three terms that we have identified from the beginning. So you now pick them one after the other. Most importantly, the performance and indiscipline. So you pick them. You can pick them by starting with, okay, what is the state of academic performance, student academic performance in Lagos State public schools, in senior secondary school. So for example, a lot of students today, a lot of secondary school students, especially in public school, struggle to make 5 credits, 5 compulsory, 5 credits in their needed subjects for higher institution. They struggle to make 5 credits. So meaning that most of them do not make 5 credits at the end of the day in external exams like WAEC, NECO, and stuff like that. So that shows there's problem with the academic performance. So you can build your argument on statement of problem on that basis. That has been observed in public school in Lagos State. Then take a look at the next variable is school indiscipline. You now find a way of linking that problem that you have observed. You find a way of linking it to school indiscipline. For instance, part of school indiscipline is when teachers do not resume their duty to time. Teachers that are expected to resume before 8 a.m., they are resuming by 9, they are resuming by 10, or they are even coming to school whenever they wish. And when they don't feel like, they stay back at home. Why they have students that are supposed to be taught in the school. So you know that automatically that would affect student performance. Then on the part of the student as well, school indiscipline includes truancy, not attending school regularly, or going out of school, out of class when they are supposed to be in class, and not taking their assignments, their homework, and their studies, not taking them serious. Being in school but doing some other things. For example, students taking their phones to school is a whole lot of distraction for them, and a lot of schools still find it difficult to manage students with their phones. So also another point you could raise is also the fact that teachers are not allowed to discipline or to flog students in Lagos public school. Could also be an issue, could also breed indiscipline among the students, because when the student realizes that, oh, no matter what I do, my teacher dare not beat me, so automatically, children, that gives them some level of indiscipline. Even when I abuse a teacher, he dares not beat me. Even when I do this, the teacher cannot do anything for me. So these are some of the issues that can be raised. So you are not just raising them, but you will link these two. You link them to each other. You link them together, and you also establish the fact that you are studying that problem. You are researching on that problem because there are little or no studies or no research on that problem. So there is scarcity of research on that area, and that is why you are looking into it. So you have to establish that soon. It's not just about identifying that there is a problem, but the question is, that problem you have identified, as somebody else do we not have enough people who have identified the same problem and solved it or provide solution to it? If it is yes, then there's no need for you to solve that problem. But from the question, you have to solve the problem. So you have to justify why you have to solve it. And part of the justification is that a lot of there is very little research in that area, and that is why you are focusing on it. So that's about statement of the problem. Then formulate two hypotheses. So let's formulate our hypothesis here. So a very straightforward hypothesis can be picked from your topic. For example, hypothesis 1. In a very simple term, the hypothesis starts with there is no significant. That word significant is important. There is no significant relationship between school indiscipline and senior secondary school students academic performance in Lagos public schools. That's one hypothesis. Then the second hypothesis, you can note that you cannot say that your second hypothesis is that there is no significant effect of indiscipline on academic performance, because you have taken those two variables already. So think outside the box to get another variable that you can combine with either school indiscipline or academic performance. For example, let's look at other variables that could affect the student academic performance. Even when there is school discipline, student academic performance, we can also consider gender. That do gender affect academic performance? Oh, of course, we know there is indiscipline, but some students are still doing fine. They are still performing well. So are they, those performing well, are they male students or are they female students, or what? Why are they still performing well despite the level of indiscipline? So you can look at gender. You can also look at home background, that is the family background of students. Is it that despite the indiscipline, some students from educated parents, it seems they are still performing better than those from non-educated parents? Oh, some students from rich home, they are still performing better than those from poor home. So those are things you can think about to form your second hypothesis. So we can say there is no significant relationship between students performance and their family background. So that is a second hypothesis that we can have. Then the third question is, okay, sorry, that's the third question. The fourth question, what research design? So for research design, we have qualitative and we have quantitative. For this, well, you can use either of the two as much as you can argue your point, but it's easier to use quantitative. So quantitative is about getting data, quantitative data, to drive home your point that, oh, truly indiscipline affects performance. So while qualitative is like observation, you want to go to the school and observe what is happening. So what's the level of indiscipline in this school? So, but one thing is that qualitative, will take you more time and resources, but quantitative will take you less time and less resources. So in that case, we would say that to question 4, qualitative research design will be used based on the points earlier raised. Then the next question is, what type of instrument will you use? Sorry, this is quantitative, not qualitative. Quantitative. So, what instrument will you use? The instrument we are going to use is questionnaire. So, to save time and to save cost, we are going to use questionnaire. We design 2 questionnaire. We can design the questionnaire to ask for even 1 questionnaire is enough, depending on how the level of your study. So you can design just 1 questionnaire to ask for the student opinion about the state of academic performance in public school, and about the state of the discipline, or even about what they think is the relationship between school indiscipline and students' performance. So questionnaire would be okay to achieve that. Then lastly, if you are to do to publish the study as a book, reference it appropriately. That's the last part of this question. Publishing it, how do we reference it? So in this case, it means it is said that as a book. So you take note of that. So you publishing it. So the name of the author will come first, and that author will be your own name. Your own name as the author. So for example, my surname is Mukaila. So that will be Mukaila, comma, initials T.A 2025, full stop. Then the topic, the effects of school. Then coming to the second line, count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then on the 6th you continue. The effect of school in discipline on academic performance of senior secondary school students in Lagos public schools. Then the place of publication, Lagos. You can decide to use Ibadan anyway, or any other place. Lagos. Then just form a publisher name. Say Kolket Publishers. Full stop. So we have conveniently answered the question 1. So let's see. Let's go to the second question. So take a look at this second question. You would see that we're given these values. A researcher was interested in determining whether residential location has impact on the performance of students in statistics. He obtained the following data from SS2 students in urban school and rural school. Urban, we have the N, we have the summation f of s. Note that that f of s should be summation s, then sd, then summation f of s to n and sd. So you were asked to formulate and test appropriate hypothesis at 0.05 level of significance. Critical value is 1.6. So this question, I think I mentioned something similar that in the previous episode, that at times you are given a value. So at times you are given a value and you have to you are not given the value of s equal to 5, 7 and the likes. Why is this? You are just given some statistics and you need to get your values for the remaining. So for instance, this is a typical example of that. So like but the first thing you need to do is, what statistics are we going to do on this? Is it t-test? Is it correlation? Is it chi-square? Remember I said in the previous episode, precisely episode 3 and 4, that when you have two groups, one test, that is t-test. But when you have one group, two tests, that is correlation. So in this case now, you check how many groups do we have. You will see that we have two groups, the urban and rural. Those are the two groups that we have. Then we have one test, which is the statistical result. So in essence, we are going to use t-test. And when we are using t-test to formulate your hypothesis, it's usually about difference. If you look at the question as well, to determine whether location has impact, though they are talking about impact, you will know whether location has impact when there is significant difference between the two locations, the rural and the urban. So to formulate our hypothesis, just say there is no significant difference between rural and urban students' performance in statistics. So this is enough as our hypothesis. However, you can also decide to say residential location. There is no significant impact of residential location on students' performance in statistics. That's also another possible hypothesis. So then we are asked to test the hypothesis, and like I said, we are using t-test, and the formula for t-test is t car equal to m1 minus m2 over square root of s square of s over n1 plus s square of y over n2. And you will notice, so now look at your question. Which of these variables did they give you? So they gave us urban. We have n equals to 168. We have summation s equals 9461.76, and we have standard deviation equals standard deviation equals 4.18, and you have for rural as well, n equals 182, summation x equals 9789.78, and standard deviation equals 3.88. So in this case, you will notice that we don't have M1, we don't have M2, we don't have this, we don't have this, but we have N, and we have N, and we have summation S. So, and this also shows that we are to use t-test aside the question. So what you now do is that starting from M1 and M2 that we don't know, this is our M. We get our M1 from urban. So this is urban is X, rural is Y. So our M1, which is S bar, is equal to summation X over N. What is our summation X? 9461. This is equal to 9461.76 over our N is 168. 168. So what's the answer? 9461.76 divided by 168. That gives us 56.32. Then our summation Y equals summation, our S bar rather equals summation Y over N, and that is equal to 9789.78 all over 182, and that gives us 9789.78 divided by 182. That is equal to 53.79. So that's our Y bar. So this is our M1, this is our M2. Then we are left to this as unknown. So then I also said in the previous episode, that is episode 2 under variance, that at times you are supposed to get your variance, but you are given standard deviation. Or for instance, if you are doing t-test and you are using your calculator, you don't want to solve it because you want to save time. So when you use your calculator will only give you the standard deviation like this. Then you will now convert it to variance, sample variance. And I said sample variance S square is the same thing as standard deviation, which is S square. So it means when you are giving your standard deviation, so this is the same thing as standard deviation square. So when you are given your standard deviation and you need your sample variance, just square the answer of the standard deviation. So that is why when you use your calculator to get standard deviation, you don't put it here directly, you square it before you put it here, or you square it. So that will give you S square. So now let's do that. So we can now work with our formula that T car is equal to M1 minus M2 divided by square root of S square of X over N1 plus S square of Y over N2. So that is equal to our M1 is this 56.32 over minus 53.79 all over square root of S square for urban 4.18 square over n. Our n is 168 plus 3.88 squared over 182. So that gives us 56.32 minus 53.79. That is 2.53 divided by square root of this 4.18 square is this that's 17.4724, then divided by 168, that gives us 0.104 plus 3.88 square is equal to 15.0544 divided by 182, that gives us 0.0827. So this is equal to 2.53 divided by this plus this, then the square root, 0.104 plus 0.0827, 0.18, then the square root is 0.432. So then our answer here is 2.53 divided by 0.432. That is equal to 5.85 or 5.856. Yes, that's our T cap. Now the question says we should test the hypothesis at 0.05 level of significance. Why? Okay, critical value is 1.96. So here we don't need to check the critical table. We don't need to check the critical table because it has been done for us, and our T critical has been given as 1.96. So our conclusion is that is that since T car, which is 5.8, let's say 2 decimal as this is 86, is greater than T critical 1.96, we reject H naught, null hypothesis, and our H naught says there is no significant difference in statistical performance of urban and rural rural students. So here, since we reject H naught, then we accept the alternative which says that there is significant difference. So in essence,
our conclusion will be that there is significant difference between the performances of students, rural students and urban students in statistics. So that will be our conclusion. So with that, we have been able to solve question 1 and question 2 in this past question. So we move to another past question. So let's see other questions that are not related to this. Believing that other questions relating to these ones we have solved, you should be able to solve them. Thank you.